You are in the Temple of the Rants, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one is for Thucedemies, who says, talk about Strauss-Howe generational theory. Vsauce talks about it in this video, and he links to the one about, what was it called? Youth phobia? Something like that. And also the Wikipedia article. So the Strauss-Howe generational theory is basically the idea that, every 20 years or so we enter a new generational cycle, and these tend to have an ebb and flow, like a natural four-stage cycle that the generations go through, where you have a period where everybody is working towards the same goal, very, like everybody's in the trying to get the same thing accomplished, and then once they accomplish it, there becomes a period where people become dissatisfied with the status quo as it is, and then there becomes a breakdown where everybody's sort of, at odds with each other. That leads to like a full-blown conflict, and then the conflict unifies people when they, reach the next stage, when they sort of reach a solution stage. This is just something that they had observed through studying generations. But, as Vsauce notes in his video, it is unscientific and unfalsifiable, and I would say unlikely. I mean, I think that it's easy enough to observe these kinds of trends depending on where you put your focus. Like, is this just what's being presented through culture? Like, I think at all times, most people are just conforming and being regular and just doing whatever is the sort of script. It's more like there's always a counterculture, and I think that counterculture just becomes louder at certain times. It's not as though there's any just one era when social progress is happening, or when, I don't know. It seems like a gross oversimplification to me. I mean, I'd have to read their actual reasoning to, know just what their logic was, but it seems like kind of way too easy, to think that things just go in this perfect cycle forever. And I also think that depending on how, things go in the future, I just don't think it's that predictable. I don't think it's like, oh, there's definitely going to be a conflict in the next 25, according to the Vsauce video, like, their prediction was that the conflict would come to a climax in 2025 before we entered the next stage of reunification. It definitely seems like we are in a heightened era of conflict of interest, at least in terms of like what people care about politically and the way that they vocalize those opinions. But at the same time, I don't know how true that is and how much of it is recency bias or just the way that the media spins things, or the ways that things seem when you're looking online, as compared to previous eras when people were actually living through it and the media wasn't the same, when it wasn't, reporting on things in the same way, or people weren't writing about it or interpreting it the same way. It's possible there was more conflict at another time that was just less obvious. And it's also possible that this conflict won't be resolved, or that, but at the same time, there are ways I can envision it snapping together if the right person got in power and everybody was sort of backing their message, and we all thought we had a clear avenue for social progress, and then we entered that next phase, and then, it all started over again. I don't know. I could see it happening. It's just as likely as it is unlikely. Who the fuck knows, dude? I don't think there's any easy way to predict the future and the way things go. You can observe a trend, but again, it's very easy to cherry pick what data you want to out of any era, especially when you're looking at history where not everything is transcribed, not every aspect of society is easily traceable, and not everybody's memory is very good. In fact, nobody's is. So, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting theory. Generational theory.